All right, let's get into it. Today we're talking about something every single one of us has been through. We're basically decoding the blueprint of you, that incredible, mind-blowing journey from birth through the first few years of life. So what's with the 3x? Well, get this. That's how much an average baby's weight multiplies in just the first year. They literally triple in size. It's this explosive physical growth that's kind of like the cover of the book for the absolute whirlwind of development that's happening on the inside.
Okay, so before we dive deeper, we got to get two key terms straight: growth and development. They sound similar, but they're not the same thing. Growth, that's the straightforward part. It's just getting bigger, right? Gaining weight, getting taller. Think of it like adding more bricks to a house. But development, that's the really cool stuff. That's about gaining skills. It's the electrical wiring, the plumbing, the Wi-Fi that actually makes the house a home. One is size, the other is skill. Make sense?
All right, let's kick things off with that incredible first year. I mean, honestly, there is no other time in your life when you change this much, this fast. You know, when a baby is born, they come with this kind of pre-installed software package. These are called primitive reflexes. The startle reflex, you might have seen it, it's called the Moro reflex, is a perfect example. And these aren't just random cute little twitches. No way. They are critical signs that the brain's wiring is all there. They're probably leftovers from our evolutionary past, designed to help a baby cling to its mom. What's really fascinating is watching them disappear. As those reflexes fade, usually by about 4 months, it's a huge sign that the brain is maturing right on schedule, moving from pure instinct to deliberate action. And all that brain development, you see it happening in real time with their physical skills. Motor control develops in this super predictable way. It goes from the head down to the toes. So first, a baby gets control of their head and neck. Then, they start mastering their core, which lets them roll over and eventually sit up. And finally, that control reaches their legs, and they learn to stand and then walk. It's just amazing. They go from being totally helpless to mobile in just 12 months. So now they can move, and that mobility opens up a whole new world. Welcome to the toddler years. This is where you really start to see a unique little personality emerge, and it's all driven by this fierce, powerful need for independence. And with that independence comes this, the toddler's absolute favorite word. But here's the thing about all the no's. It's not just them being difficult. This negativism, as it's called, is actually one of the very first tools they have to test the world, to push boundaries, and to say, hey, I'm my own person here. It's not just normal, it's a super healthy and crucial sign that they're figuring out who they are. Physically, toddlers are also going through some massive changes. That soft spot on their head, the fontanelle, it closes up. Their brain is growing like crazy. It's already about 90% of its adult size by age 2. And a huge part of that growth is a process called myelination, which is basically like insulating the brain's wiring. That new insulation is absolutely essential for gaining sphincter control. So that, plus the fact that they can now pull their own pants down, well, that's your signal that they're getting ready for that giant milestone, toilet training. Okay, moving on to the preschool years. And this is where things get magical. The focus shifts from just mastering the physical world to this incredible explosion of their inner world. We're talking imagination, language, and a type of logic that, well, let's just say it doesn't always follow the rules we're used to. Getting inside a preschooler's head is just fascinating. They have what's called magical thinking. They genuinely believe their thoughts can change what happens in the real world. I wished for it to stop raining, so it did. They also have animism, which is where they give lifelike feelings to their toys. That teddy bear isn't just a toy. It has feelings and gets sad if it's left behind. And imaginary friends, that's not something to worry about. It's an amazing creative tool they use to practice conversations and figure out social situations. It's like having a built-in practice buddy. And you can see this huge cognitive leap in their language. I mean, look at this explosion. A 4-year-old has around 1,500 words. Fast forward just 1 year, and they've jumped to over 2,100. And it's not just about the number of words. They start using grammar that sounds more like an adult's. They can talk about yesterday and tomorrow, and they start asking that one endless, all-important question: why? So with all of this change happening at lightning speed, you might be wondering, how do we know it's all on the right track? Well, let's take a look at some of the tools that professionals use to monitor this incredible journey. Right. So how do we know if growth is on track? This is the big question at every doctor's visit, right? And the answer isn't just about a single number on a scale. It's so much more about the big picture, the overall pattern.
And that's where growth charts come in. The key thing to understand here is the curve, the trend over time. A kid who's always been on the 20th percentile is probably growing just fine for them. The thing that gets your attention, the potential red flag, is when there's a sudden drop off their curve or a huge jump. That could be an early warning sign that something's up, maybe with nutrition or an endocrine, a hormone issue. Doctors also keep an eye out for issues a baby might be born with, known as congenital issues. Heart defects are a big one. For instance, something called a ventricular septal defect, or a VSD, is basically a hole in the wall between the heart's chambers. Then you have more complex conditions, like tetralogy of Fallot, which can cause lower oxygen levels in the blood. Catching these things early is absolutely key to making sure a child can develop and thrive. But it's not all about the physical stuff. At the exact same time, something just as important is being built: the emotional and psychological foundation that is literally going to support them for the rest of their life. The famous psychologist Erik Erikson had a theory about this. He called the very first stage trust versus mistrust. And the idea is pretty simple. An infant is learning one of two fundamental things about the world. If their needs, food, comfort, warmth, are met consistently and with love, they learn that the world is a safe, predictable, and good place. That's how they build that bedrock of trust. And this is why this next point is so important. A baby's cry, it's communication. That's it. It is not manipulation. It's not a tactic to get attention. It is their only way of telling you they have a real need. And when we respond to that cry, we're doing more than just fixing the problem. We are teaching them, one response at a time, that they can trust us and that they can trust the world. Now, building that world of trust also means keeping them physically safe, especially when they sleep. And the guidelines here are really straightforward and absolutely life-saving. Remember these 3 things. Always put a baby on their back to sleep. The surface needs to be firm and flat, and the crib should be empty. Bare is best. No soft blankets, no pillows, no stuffed animals. So, as we've seen, these first few years are just this incredible whirlwind of construction, building everything from brain cells and muscles to complex emotions. Which brings us to one last big question. If these early years really do build the foundation for an entire life, what do you think is the most important brick in that foundation?